I know for a fact that my parents don't swing off trees, never told me a story of them swinging off trees. And, it was just, something that children, when they're in the mood to be not nice, that they use. So that was one thing that made me kind of hide my background, my history. And so now, I'm very proud. I'm very proud to, lift up two flags, and because those two flags make up who I am, right? So the U.S. flag and then the Trinidad and Tobago flag, both of those come together to, paint the picture as to me and my impact, right? So I'm sure y'all understand. And then the other little stupid anecdotal story is one day, I'm outside. I'm probably like about 11 years old. And so I'm outside, and, my mother comes outside to speak words. And this is, of course, back in the early 80s. This is the early 80s. And, she tells me to do something, or, something of that nature. And so the kids that I was playing outside with, one girl looks to me and she says, "Oh, your mother speaks Spanish?" And I'm sitting there like, what? Like, where did that come from? Because that just all made absolutely no sense. Because I promise you, at 11, I never spoke Spanish. I didn't understand Spanish, as great of a language as it is. And for somebody to say, my mother came outside and she's speaking Spanish because of her accent. And many people say, people from the islands, they tend to speak fast. And it's not that they tend to speak fast. It's just that their accent, much like there's a difference in accents from southern U.S. people. And then you have your your mid-Atlantic people, or even your Midwestern people. Like all over the country, there are different dialects. There are different cadences in what people say and what they say, right? So in one place is pop, and another place is soda, right? So it was just that simple thing. And so, of course, it's the not knowing and the ignorance of a child who has never really traveled outside of their block that doesn't understand those differences. And that was something that I had to fight with all the time. When my parents would speak to me and other people would hear them and say, "Oh, they're speaking Spanish," because that is Spanish was the language. I don't think they didn't sound Spanish at all. They don't look Spanish, the stereotypical Spanish anyway, because Spanish people tend to look like all sorts of people. But it was just that language that, was starting to bud. And so that's what they said, right? So that is another, a little anecdotal story I wanted to share with the Soul Circle. I don't pay any attention to any of that now, but it certainly was a big issue at that time. But listening to that, I would say that we're going to go into, so with That's My Song. So generally, I always play songs that go with whatever topic or issue. So this one is going to be all about like soca music and Trinidad and Tobago artists, that have put songs together. And so my sister, my great and wonderful sister, and my mother, because my mother and father go to Trinidad often. They actually used to, they worked here, and then they retired when they got older and went back because of the harshness that winter, and that's Maryland, the harshness that Maryland, Baltimore, that winter can bring. And so they go back to where, like it's summertime all year long. And so, anyway, my mother and my sister just came back from Trinidad, and to hear all of the different stories, and, because Trinidad is changing, is definitely changing, like the world is changing, right? So there's a big change and a big shift in, all countries, all populations, all cultures, countries and cultures, and populations. So, just hearing, what's going on. Because, like when my grandmother was there, there was a time that with my home base, there's my grandmother and my grandfather. He was like the funniest man alive. And then, there were aunts and uncles and cousins and, but everybody's growing up and people are traveling outside of their borders. Because they don't have a wall that they got to worry about, but they're traveling outside of their country and going different places. So there was a time for that, and I'm now starting to appreciate all of that. When I was young, I didn't appreciate it. When my mother was like, "Okay, it's summertime and we're going back to Trinidad," I'd be like, why'd I have to spend my summers in Trinidad? Like, oh my gosh, I want to stay here with my friends. But now I appreciate that she did, maintain that connection with the country that she is from and that my father is from and where most of my family is from. All right. So circle. Make sure y'all get some roti, because that's one of the dishes that I love that my mother would make when I was younger. But right now we're going to go into, this was one of the Soca songs for this year. Carnival. That's what I mean. Carnival Soca songs for this year. And this is Peter Ram. And this version is Good Morning Trinidad.
From pillar to post, I disparty the most. Yeah. I behave in the West. My conduct is so gross. From the time that I wake, I ready to bust the gate. The place can mash up again. Trinidad, good morning. Show them. Tobago, good morning. Show them. Right now, let me start the drinking, start the bumping, start the betting. Right now, let me start the drinking, start the bumping, start the lining. Right now, let me start the drinking, start the bumping, start the betting. Right now, let me start it. Boy, right now, let me start it. Boy, it's another episode when we out on the road. This is what we love to celebrate. This is not Hollywood. No, we don't come out to post. We this party with no restraint. From pillar to post, I this party the most. I behave in the West. My conduct is so gross. From the time that I wake, I ready to bust the gate. The place can match up again. Trinidad, good morning. Show them how we do jump up. Show them how we do free up. Tobago, good morning. Show them how we do jump up. Show them how we do free up. Right now, let me start the drinking, start the bumping, start the betting. Right now, let me start the drinking, start the bumping, start the lining. Right now, let me start the drinking, start the bumping, start the betting. Right now, let me start it. Boy, right now, let me start it. Boy, this is our destiny. Yes, it belongs to we. We making history. We celebrate. Just doing our duties, and nothing can stop me. We this party in sun or rain. From pillar to post, we this party the most. We behave in the West. We conduct is so gross. From the fed to the stage, time I get in a rage. For the morning match up again. Trinidad, good morning. Show them how we do jump up. Show them how we do free up. Tobago, good morning. Show them how we do jump up. Show them how we do free up. Right now, let me start the drinking, start the bumping, start the betting. Right now, let me start the drinking, start the bumping, start the lining. Right now, let me start the drinking, start the bumping, start the betting. Right now, let me start it. Boy, right now, let me start it. Boy, it's another episode when we out on the road. Yeah, this is what we love to celebrate. This is not Hollywood. No, we don't come out to post. We this party with no restraint. From pillar to post, I this party the most. I behave in the West. My conduct is so gross. From the time that I wake, I ready to bust the gate. The place can match up again. Trinidad, good morning. Show them how we do jump up. Show them how we do free up. Tobago, good morning. Show them how we do jump up. Show them how we do free up. Right now, let me start the drinking, start
Good morning. Good morning, Trinidad. That's that song, Stand up, Trini Massive. So, so that is soca music, right? So that is, the music that, when I go back to Trinidad, that's what in addition to other things, right? But that is the music that my parents introduced me to, and that is what symbolizes, Trinidad and Tobago. So soca music is, a form of Caribbean music. And it is the music of Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, it has different, it has developed and changed and everything like that. So you just have to keep that in mind. But first, I'm not sure if everybody in the Soul Circle understands this, but Trinidad and Tobago is near Venezuela. So, like, near the equator, and it stays warm. Like, it stays warm throughout the year. There's not the 4 seasons, the 4 different seasons or 3 different seasons, not even really 2 different seasons. The only season that might be a little different is the rainy season. They do have a rainy season, but there is no fall or spring or any of that. It's just stays warm, and I love that because I love warm weather. So that's the first thing. Much like any island in the Caribbean, it stays warm. It stays warm. So I just tend to think that people are nicer in warm weather than they are in cold weather. So that is the first thing. And then the thing to remember is that Trinidad and Tobago got its independence from British rule on August 31st of 1962, and then they become a republic. Another big thing to remember is, of course, carnival. So everybody, when you think of carnival and you get into these grandiose costumes and it's a bunch of bands coming up and down the street. I know I know New York has a big, West Indian Carnival parade, and, everybody will have the parade, but it's nothing like Trinidad's carnival. Like, it's a bunch of people that converge on Trinidad for their carnival. And their carnival is held like 40 days prior to Easter. So, for those of us that for people that are religious fanatics, like, that is your time to, on that during carnival, you just get all of your waywardness out of the way and you live it up. And you lime. That's like one of the words. Like, they're lime and they like to have fun. So you lime, and then for the next 40 days until Easter, you pull it together, and you work on yourself, and that's if you're a religious fanatic. And when I say religious fanatic, I mean, like, if you're into Christianity, that right there, of course, Easter is a big holiday within the Christian religion. So now that we're speaking, also, so I told you about the Independence Day. I told you it's near Venezuela. The other thing that Trinidad is known for is the creation and invention of the steel pan. And so the steel pan makes music. And, I love music. That's hence the show, That's My Song. And it's just beautiful to hear how these different pans can come together, and depending on how you hit them or how big the thing that you hit it with will bring together some really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful music. Like, oh my goodness. Very proud of that historical fact. I want to say one of the few instruments that has been created in the 21st century is the steel pan, and that would be Trinidad and their steel pan. So, that's something to definitely, I pay homage to that, particularly since I am a music person, that they definitely, they as in Trinidad, has contributed to music in that way. So that is that. So next up, it's a very fun island, y'all. So, the food is just off the chain. If you like Caribbean